Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the place you come to when you want to go beyond the headlines, sifting through, stacks of sources to really get to the heart of things.
And today, we're diving deep into a figure who embodies complexity, maybe more than almost anyone in modern culture, Tupac Amaru Shakur.
Right. Also known as Tupac, Machiavelli. A towering figure, undeniably one of the most influential artists, period. Sold over 75 million records.
Which is staggering, especially when you consider he only lived to be 25, born 1971, died 1996. It's an incredibly compressed, explosive life.
Absolutely. And that's our mission today. To really navigate the whirlwind around him. The sources are diverse, often conflicting. We want to look at his radical roots, his incredible artistic range, the legal battles.
That the persona shifts, the whole gangsta image versus the poet.
Exactly. And the legacy. How is he still so relevant? Where's the connective tissue between all these seemingly contradictory parts?
We kind of have to start right at the beginning with his name, because the weight of history was, put on him from day one.
He wasn't born Tupac Shakur.
Well, no. He was born Lassane Parish Crooks. But when he was just 1 year old, his mother, Afeni Shakur, renamed him Tupac Amaru Shakur. After Tupac Amaru II. The 18th century indigenous revolutionary in Peru led this massive uprising against the Spanish, was eventually executed.
Wow. That's a heavy name to give a baby.
It was intentional. Afeni specifically said she wanted him named after a revolutionary indigenous people. It wasn't just a name. It was like a declaration, a mandate almost, grounding him in this global struggle.
So he was quite literally born into this revolutionary context.
Absolutely. You can't separate Tupac the artist from the Black Panther Party. Both his mother, Afeni, and his biological father, Billy Garland, were active members, very active.
And Afeni's involvement was significant. The Panther 21 trial. Can you give us a quick refresher on that? It wasn't minor?
Oh, not at all. This was huge. 1969, New York City, 21 members of the NY Black Panther chapter accused of this massive conspiracy plot bombing police stations, department stores.
Seen by many as a political prosecution to dismantle the Panthers.
Exactly. Afeni faced something like 150 charges. She actually defended herself in court, cross-examined witnesses. The pressure must have been immense.
And the outcome?
Acquitted on all counts. And this acquittal came just 1 month before Tupac was born.
1 month. So that's the immediate backdrop to his birth, his mother fighting federal conspiracy charges and winning, then naming him after an executed revolutionary.
That's the inheritance. And it didn't stop there. The family connections run deep into radical movements. His stepfather, Mutulu Shakur.
Convicted for the Brinks robbery in 81, right?
Right. Apprehended in 86. And then there's his godmother, Assata Shakur, a major figure in the Black Liberation Army.
Convicted of killing a state trooper, escaped prison, was on the FBI's most wanted terrorist list for decades, until a reported death just recently, actually.
So themes like systemic oppression, police violence, incarceration, resistance, these weren't just ideas Tupac read about. They were, his family's lived reality, dinner table conversation, practically.
Okay, that sets a powerful stage. Let's move to his formative years. The move from New York to Baltimore in '84. That seems like a real pivot point.
It was a challenging time, personally. His mother was struggling with addiction, finding work. They lived in a tough neighborhood, Penn Lucy. But artistically, Baltimore was crucial.
Because he got into the Baltimore School for the Arts.
Exactly. A highly selective arts high school. And this is where you see that incredible range start to develop. He wasn't just doing one thing.
What was he studying there?
Acting, poetry, jazz, and maybe surprisingly, ballet.
Ballet? Seriously?
Seriously. There are accounts of him performing as the Mouse King in the Nutcracker.
Wow. The image clashes a bit with the later persona.
It does.
Yeah.
But think about the discipline involved, the structure. He was doing Shakespeare plays, writing poetry, and sources say he was already making connections.
Connections between what?
Between the themes in Shakespeare, the power struggles, the betrayals, the feuds, and the dynamics of gang warfare he was seeing on the streets.
That's fascinating. Synthesizing classical literature and contemporary street reality. That really does foreshadow his later work.
Absolutely. It wasn't just raw talent. It was intellectually processed. And politically, too. He wasn't just inheriting the politics. He was seeking them out.
How so?
In Baltimore, he got involved with the Young Communist League USA. He even dated the daughter of the local Communist Party director. So he's actively looking for frameworks, for ideologies to understand the world.
So the artist and the activist were developing side by side. Then comes the move west in '88 to Marin City, California. He doesn't finish high school there.
No, but he did get his GED later. Marin City is really where the rap career starts to take shape. He starts performing as MC New York.
And connects with Digital Underground.
Right. Layla Steinberg saw his group, Strictly Dope, perform. That led to him meeting Itron Gregory, who managed Digital Underground. By 1990, he's officially part of their crew.
But not as a rapper initially.
Not primarily. He started as a roadie and a backup dancer, learning the ropes, paying his dues.
His first official feature was on Same Song in 1991. Before the massive fame hit, was there a sense within the group that he was different, something special?
Definitely. Jimmy Chopmester J. Dwight, who co-founded Digital Underground, talked about this. He said Tupac had this intense focus, like he was on a mission. Yeah, Dwight felt like maybe Tupac knew his time was limited. He didn't quite fit the collaborative vibe. He was very driven, very solo-focused. Even within the group structure, that urgency was palpable.
And that urgency propelled him into his solo career and this rapid evolution of his sound. From political rap to, well, what became known as gangsta rap.
The evolution starts right away with Tupacalypse, now in 91. That album is pure political fire. It draws directly on his upbringing, his observations.
Tracks like Trapped, Brenda's Got a Baby. They're like mini-movies almost.
Totally. Brenda's Got a Baby is classic narrative storytelling. It's got character, plot, theme. It's using literary techniques he probably honed at the Baltimore School for the Arts to talk about poverty, systemic failure.
But that political directness caused immediate backlash. Right?
Oh, big time. Vice President Dan Quayle seized on it. After a tragic shooting where the perpetrators supposedly listened to the album, Quayle went public, saying the record had no place in our society.
A direct political attack. How did Tupac respond?
He basically said, look, I'm not telling people to be violent. I'm just rapping about what's really happening to young black men. But the criticism definitely painted him as this dangerous figure, even as the album went gold.
Did that pressure contribute to the shift in sound on his next album?
Yeah.
Strictly for My N.I.G.G.A.Z. in 93?
Yeah.
That one felt harder.
It definitely did. The production got heavier, more metallic. It leaned more into that hardcore West Coast sound. But the socio-political commentary was still there. It was just layered differently.
Layered how?
Well, look at the vinyl release. It literally split the difference. Side A was called the Black Side, more conscious, uplifting tracks.
And side B,
the dark side, more about the street life, the volatility, the hedonism. That album gave us both I Get Around, a straight-up party track, and Keep Ya Head Up, this incredibly empathetic anthem for women.
So the duality was explicit. He was trying to embody both sides.
Exactly. The conscience and the provocateur all at once. And that complexity really connected. The album went platinum.
And around this time, 1993-94, he forms the group Thug Life.
Right. With Big Psych, Macadoshis, his stepbrother Tupac Shakur, Rated R, they released Thug Life, Volume 1 in 94.
Was this just embracing the gangsta label, or was there more to it? You mentioned he was solo-focused earlier. Why form a group?
I think it was partly strategic, partly philosophical. Thug Life itself was an acronym he pushed. The hate you give little infants F's, everybody.
So a political statement disguised as street code.
Pretty much. Forming the group allowed him to kind of codify that philosophy, maybe shield himself a bit from direct criticism by making it a collective identity. Though even that album faced issues. The original version got scrapped because of the intense anti-gangsta rap sentiment at the time. It had to be heavily reworked.
It sounds like the external pressures were constantly mounting.
Yeah.
And then the legal troubles really started to escalate. Let's talk about Oakland, 1991.
Yeah, that jaywalking incident seems minor, but it was pivotal. He alleged that Oakland police stopped him, choked him, slammed his head into the pavement. Just brutal escalation over jaywalking.
And sued them.
For $10 million. They eventually settled for about $43,000, which, acknowledges something went wrong, but it's a fraction of what he asked for.
And there was a lasting physical impact from that.
Yes. According to sources, that incident, the head trauma, is what triggered his alopecia, the autoimmune condition that caused his hair loss.
So the shaved head, which became such an iconic part of his look, was directly linked to an alleged act of police brutality. It became this constant, visible reminder of that confrontation with the system.
Then things got even more serious in Atlanta, 1993. The shooting involving off-duty cops, the stories there seem really contradictory.
Extremely. Police said Tupac shot at them after an argument, but witnesses claimed the officers who were in plain clothes were harassing a black motorist, using racial slurs, and maybe even fired first.
Self-defense versus police aggression. How did it resolve?
All charges against everyone involved were eventually dropped. But the incident itself, the ambiguity, the conflicting accounts just added to his feeling of being targeted, his distrust of authority.
And then came the case that really changed everything. The sexual abuse charges in New York, late 1993.
Yeah, November 93. He and others were accused by Ayanna Jackson. The trial was complex, the media coverage intense.
What was the final verdict?
He was acquitted of the most serious charges, sodomy and gun charges, but convicted of 2 counts of first-degree sexual abuse, specifically forcibly touching the woman's buttocks.
And the sentence? 18 months to 4.5 years in prison.
And this conviction, coupled with things happening around the same time, really solidified his belief that he was being set up, didn't it?
Absolutely. This is where the paranoia, or perhaps justified suspicion, really takes hold. He started pointing fingers at associates like Jacques Haitian-Jacques Agnant and James Jimmy Henchman Rosemond.
Believing they were involved in orchestrating the charges.
Yes. He theorized they connected his accuser to the situation, that it was a deliberate attempt to take him down, control him, maybe extort him. This narrative of betrayal became central to his worldview.
And then, literally the day before his sentencing, the Quad Studio shooting, November 30th, 1994.
Just unbelievable timing. He'd gone to Quad Studios in Times Square, supposedly lured there by Jimmy Henchman with an offer to record a verse for $7,000 cash he needed for legal fees.
And he was ambushed in the lobby?
Ambushed, beaten, robbed of his jewelry, and shot 5 times. Miraculously survived, but physically and psychologically it was devastating.
His reaction immediately after was legendary, showing up to court the next day.
Right. Heavily bandaged, in a wheelchair, fresh out of surgery, against doctor's orders, he shows up for the verdict. That image, defiant, wounded, convicted, instantly became iconic. It cemented his status as a martyr in the eyes of many fans.
And he publicly blamed people who were in the studio upstairs that night.
He did. Sean Puffy Combs, the Notorious B.I.G., and Jimmy Henchman. He was convinced they knew about the ambush, even if they didn't orchestrate it directly. That perceived betrayal lit the fuse for the East Coast-West Coast rap war. It became personal, deeply personal.
So he goes to prison, Clinton Correctional Facility, but he doesn't just sit there. He starts reading some heavy stuff.
Yeah, this is the Machiavelli period beginning. He's reading Machiavelli's The Prince, Sun Tzu's The Art of War, getting deep into strategy, power, manipulation.
And the idea of faking one's death to return stronger.
That Machiavellian concept really resonated. It directly inspired his later stage name, Machiavelli. He's plotting his return, his reinvention, even from inside prison.
His time inside gets cut short, though, thanks to Suge Knight.
Right. October 1995, Suge Knight, the head of Death Row Records, posts a $1.4 million bond to get Tupac out, pending his appeal.
Why such a huge amount? What was the deal?
Tupac, in return, signed a 3-album deal with Death Row. Apparently, the groundwork was laid earlier when Suge helped Afeni with money to save her house. So Tupac comes out of prison straight onto the West Coast's most notorious record label.
And his first order of business seems to have been musical revenge. Hit him up.
Oh, man. Hit him up was thermonuclear. Just pure, unfiltered rage directed at Biggie, Puffy, Junior MAFIA, Mobb Deep, Chino XL. It wasn't just a diss track, it was a declaration of war. It took the rivalry to a point of no return.
And all that energy, that fury gets channeled into his next project.
All Eyes on Me. Released February 1996, rap's first double album. A massive, sprawling statement.
Thematically, it feels different from his earlier work. Less overtly political, more triumphant, more gangsta.
Yeah, the introspection takes a backseat to this kind of volatile, celebratory, post-prison swagger. It's the sound of someone unleashed. And it was huge. Certified diamond, 10 million copies.
2 #1 singles, California Love, How You Want It, peak commercial success.
And incredibly, even after that huge double album, he still recorded another entire album, The Don Illuminati, the 7-Day Theory, under the Machiavelli name.
Which was finished before he died. The speed is incredible.
Reportedly written in 3 days, recorded and mixed in 4. Just an insane burst of creativity fueled by, well, everything that was happening. That intensity was unsustainable.
Which brings us, tragically, to Las Vegas, September 1996.
He was there for the Mike Tyson fight with Suge Knight, but before the shooting later that night, there was another incident.
The fight in the MGM Grand Lobby.
Right. Caught on surveillance. One of Suge's guys spots Orlando Anderson, a Southside Compton Crip who allegedly robbed him earlier. Tupac, Suge, and their crew confront and assault Anderson. It was aggressive.
And later that night, drive away from the fight.
They're in Suge's BMW, heading to his club, stopped at a red light on Flamingo Road.
And then
a white Cadillac pulls up alongside the passenger side, where Tupac was sitting. Shots fired rapidly into the car.
how many times was he hit?
4 times. One bullet hit his right lung. He held on for 6 days in the hospital.
But died on September 13th, 1996. Respiratory failure, cardiopulmonary arrest.
Yeah, just 25 years old.
And there's that grim detail about his ashes.
With the Outlaws, his group, they took a line from his song Black Jesus, Smoke My Ashes, literally. They confirmed later they mixed some of his ashes with marijuana and smoked it. It just adds to the whole mythos surrounding him.
For years, decades really, the murder remained unsolved. So many theories, rumors, Orlando Anderson, Biggie, even wilder stuff.
It became one of those huge, lingering pop culture mysteries, fueling endless speculation, documentaries, books.
But then, relatively recently, there was a major break. July 2023.
Las Vegas police executed a search warrant related to the case after all that time.
And then the arrest, September 2023.
Dwayne Keefe D. Davis. He's the uncle of Orlando Anderson, the man assaulted in the MGM lobby hours before the shooting.
And Davis had made public statements suggesting involvement.
Yeah, over the years, in interviews and a book, he'd implicated himself as being in the Cadillac, involved in the planning. Now he's been indicted for the murder.
His trial is set for 2026.
February 2026, last I checked. He's currently incarcerated, so after almost 30 years, there might finally be some legal closure.
It's incredible how the story keeps unfolding. Let's shift gears slightly, though, and talk about his other artistic life, the actor, the writer. His film career was short, but impactful.
Definitely. Juice in '92 was a powerful debut, earned him real critical respect. Then Poetic Justice in '93 with Janet Jackson.
And the poems his character recited in that film
were actually written by Maya Angelou, which again shows that blend street sensibility meeting high literary art.
But his legal problems started interfering with acting roles, too.
Oh, yeah. John Singleton wanted him for higher learning after Poetic Justice, but the studio balked because of his conviction. Singleton had to let him go.
Singleton still saw potential, though.
Absolutely. He later envisioned Tupac for the lead in Baby Boy. The film ended up being dedicated to him, even featuring his mural and music.
And what about that wild rumor involving Star Wars?
Ah, the Mace Windu rumor. Rick Clifford, a former death row engineer, claimed George Lucas was considering Tupac to audition for the role that eventually went to Samuel L. Jackson.
Is that confirmed?
It's more of a persistent industry story, but whether it's 100% factual or not, the fact that it's believable that Lucas might have considered him for a major Jedi role, that says a lot about Tupac's perceived gravitas and star power right before he died.
But fundamentally, he was a poet. The Rose That Grew from Concrete is famous, but his poetry started much earlier, didn't it? And it was political from the start.
It absolutely was. Recently discovered handwritten poems from when he was just 11 years old. They're not about kid stuff.
What are they about?
Black liberation, mass incarceration, race issues. And he signed them Tupac Shakur, future freedom fighter.
At age 11.
11. It proves the revolutionary consciousness wasn't something he adopted later for an image. It was ingrained. It was who he saw himself becoming, even as a child.
Let's talk about the music itself, the sound. We know the themes, Panther ideologies, street life, contradictions. But what about his voice? What made it so distinct?
Shock G, his producer from Digital Underground days, had a great insight. He said most rappers rap from their nose or throat. Tupac rapped from the pit of his stomach.
What does that mean, technically?
It gave his voice incredible power, projection, resonance. Shock G believed he learned this from studying great speakers, orators like Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X. He wasn't just rapping, he was delivering something with force.
And beyond the voice, technically, as a songwriter and producer in the studio, he gets praised, but sometimes criticized as maybe less technically complex than others.
I think that misses his background. His training in jazz, poetry, theater, it shows up in techniques like vocal stacking.
Vocal stacking. Explain that.
It's where you record the same vocal line multiple times and layer them very precisely in the mix. It's harder than it sounds. You need perfect timing, pitch consistency.
Where can you hear that?
Listen closely to tracks like Dear Mama. You'll hear multiple layers of his voice, sometimes with slight rhythmic variations, reinforcing phrases, adding texture. It makes the vocal sound incredibly full and powerful, almost like a chorus, but it's all him.
So it's a way to add depth while keeping the flow.
Exactly. It maintains that strong oratorical feel without getting muddy. It's a sophisticated technique rooted in musicality, rhythm control. That's why someone like Eminem, a technical master himself, calls Tupac the greatest songwriter. He recognizes that structural skill, not just the words.
When peers like Nas say things like, I put Tupac beyond Shakespeare, that's placing him in a very different category than just rapper.
He's achieved that iconic status, absolutely. And it's reflected academically now, too. Harvard held a whole symposium on him. All eyes on me, Tupac Shakur and the search for the modern folk hero, scholars analyzing his impact.
And it's not just in the U.S.
No way. The University of Oslo in Norway actually had a course just on Tupac's cultural history and global reach. Academics like Mark Anthony Neal talk about the leadership void his death left, how he made complex ideas accessible.
You see his influence everywhere, from Barack Obama citing him to Palestinian rappers like Tamer Nafar finding resonance in his defiance.
His image became this global symbol of a black folk hero, representing struggle, intellect, and rebellion.
And the legacy is concrete, too. Awards, halls of fame.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, first ballot, Hip Hop Hall of Fame, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame just last year. Plus, the foundation, TASF, doing arts training, and they even renamed a street section in Oakland Tupac Shakur Way. He's literally part of the landscape now.
So, wrapping this all up, how do we synthesize this? The revolutionary poet, the actor, the gangsta, the Machiavelli figure, the violence, the intellect, the global impact. It's a lot.
It is a lot. He's the ultimate paradox, maybe. The walking contradiction, as Neil said. He embraced the gangster role, yet his work resonates with such intellectual and emotional depth. He became a martyr figure for many, despite, or maybe because of, his flaws and complexities.
Because he embodied the struggle.
I think so. The struggle of being brilliant, angry, politically aware, and just trying to navigate a world that felt hostile. He translated the formal language of revolution he grew up with into the raw language of the streets, and people felt that authenticity.
Which brings us to a final thought. Academics talk about his mythological status, calling him OG, ostensibly gone. He feels both historical and perpetually present. What does it mean when an artist achieves that kind of resurrection in culture, blurring history and legend, especially as the legal system is still trying to write the final chapter?
It means, perhaps, that the revolutionary spirit his mother named him for Tupac Amaru ultimately transcended the person. The future freedom fighter he signed his childhood poems as. In a way, through his art and his enduring impact, he became exactly that. A complicated, flawed, but undeniably powerful legend.
A powerful place to leave it. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the life and legacy of Tupac Shakur. We hope it gave you, our listeners, a deeper appreciation for the layers behind the icon.